Welcome back to Clonbeale Moor. In our last video, we introduced peatland conservation and why it's so important. We also outlined why we as Tullamore Lions Club embarked on the peatland conservation project back in January 2023. So in that video, we introduced you to the members of our team and we described the benefits that we hope to achieve both here in Clonbeale for the local community and also for our climate. These included a reduction in the carbon emissions from the site and a significant improvement in the biodiversity and in some of the habitats that are threatened and declining here. We also outlined in the video our plan for the next phase of this project, which is to make Clonbeale Moor available as a resource for the local community, as a place to reconnect with nature and learn more about climate. However, today's video will be a little bit different. We're delighted that the work has actually started here at Clonbeale, and in this video we're going to look at the feasibility study that we carried out in 2023 and the conservation plan that we formulated out of that study. George, can you first explain to us why it was so important that we carried out a feasibility study and what the elements of that study were?
Yeah, I mean, the main reason why it's important is because every bog is different and it's not possible to restore all the bogs in the same way. So what you need to do is you need to first carry out some investigations. You need to find out about the hydrology of the site, the way that the water works, and the ecology of the site to see what you already have there. Because all the bogs are different. Some are uncut high bogs, some bogs are cut over bogs. They would have been cut over at different times, and they would have been cut over in different ways, And so all sorts of different factors help influence how restorable a bog is and the sort of amount of effort that you need to put into it.
George, what did we discover about Clonbeale Moor?
Well, Clonbeale Moor is a very unusual bog. It's all cut over, probably by hand, but a very long time ago. And so you have this really intimate mosaic of different habitats, which you can see here in the green colours are woodland and scrub around the edges of the bog. And then in the yellow, orange and red colours, you have areas of cut over bog that's open. The yellow parts are the highest and driest. The orange are sort of medium, medium in terms of wetness and medium in terms of cover of sphagnum, the bog moss. That's the key species, the bog builder. And then the red areas are the wettest areas here. And so those are areas in particular that, according to the feasibility study, we have recommended that they shouldn't be interfered with and shouldn't be touched because they're already in an ideal condition. And you don't want machines tracking around them.
What are the key elements of our conservation plan for Clonbeale Moor, George?
Well, the main elements are a series of dams, peat dams and plastic dams in different places, and bunds. And the objective is to block drains and where we have these low troughs where peat has been extracted, to put peat bunds across to slow the flow of water across the bog. So the objective is not to flood the bog, but it's to slow the flow of water and retain the water on the bog as much as possible. So here you can see in purple we have peat bunds going across some of the larger areas where peat has been extracted in the past. And then in green we have peat dams going across more narrow drains. And then up here in the north, where the access is a little more difficult, we've recommended plastic dams be used. Because plastic dams, they're more easily portable, they can be installed by hand. So those are the main strategies that are being used to restore Clonbeale Moor across the bog.
And there was also some rhododendron that had to be removed?
Yes, yeah. So in the woods around it, there is rhododendron has infested some of the woodlands. Rhododendron is a non-native invasive species that it can take over woodlands and prevent trees from regenerating and pretty much exclude any other plant species from growing there. So we thought that was an important thing for the site as a whole, not necessarily the raised bog, but the site as a whole, to eliminate the rhododendron.
Earlier this year we applied to the Community Climate Action Fund. This was a competitive application process run by Offaly County Council and the Department of the Environment and Climate Change. And we were delighted to find out in July that we'd been awarded the necessary funding to help us carry out the project. As part of that application process we had to select a contractor, and we were delighted to be able to select Brian and his team from Gorman Earthworks to carry out the necessary conservation measures here at Clonbeale. One of those is the building of lots of peat dams, Brian. So yes. I'd like to find out a bit more about what is a peat dam and how does it work.
Okay.
Thanks. I see there's one over here.
Yeah, so here we are, we have in our peat dam, and essentially what happens is where a drain was put in previously years ago to drain the bog, we now have to come back and place a dam in its place. And this will help capture the water in areas just in the drain, but it doesn't just capture the water, it helps spread it back out both sides of our dam, and essentially then re-wetting that area nice and gently. And the same thing, when the water rises slightly across, it'll fill some of our settlement ponds where we used as a borrow pit to dig to refill our drain.
This part of the site has been recommended to place in plastic dams instead of peat dams in certain locations. So why would you use plastic instead of peat?
Plastic dams specifically more in areas where it's not really accessible for a machine.
Yeah.
And on some other sites what we've seen could be a large area bog, may have been a few small drains in there, it wouldn't be feasible to bring a machine in. So typically then you'd put in your plastic dam. Those would be put in then by manual, so you'd have to do all that by hand. It's heavy manual labour, but it does be effective. But if a peat dam can be done in place of it.
Peat bunds are also an essential part of the solution. So how does a peat bund differ from a peat dam?
So it differs with, you'd have a longer area of ground that's required to rise the surface level a lot further. So what we see here in Clonbeale is quite a risen area here, shallow in other sections. So what we want to do is create this cell bund the whole way down along this site. It traps the water, but we don't want to hold too much water, so our cell bund is just going to rise about 250 mil above the surface level. That'll trap some of the water, and then you'll see in between the certain different bamboos what the cell bunds that go in between here. You'll see the different flow from where our main cell bund here is, and it'll work the whole way back down through the rest of the site, and then saturating either side. The same thing then encouraging the growth of the spike moss species back across.
Excellent. George outlined earlier that there was a lot of invasive rhododendron to be removed. Can you explain how you went about removing it?
Yeah, so we have a special adapted machine with a rototilt hitch and a koala tree shears. So what we've noticed on previous sites where we've removed rhododendron, that the best practice for ourselves was to shear the top layer in three different stages. So you have your top layer, your brash, your next layer, and you eventually make your way down to the root. And it's the root that's really important that we have to get rid of. So then we pull the stumps out separately, move them to a separate pile. And then what will happen then from that side, we will be able to take that, bring that away, put it into a chipper and break it down completely.
Excellent.
So then the management afterwards on the site, you might have a little seedling that might pop up, and we'll just walk through and pop our little seedlings every season until hopefully eventually they'll be all gone. But yeah, you'll see here from this area here, it was quite heavily flooded. We wanted to make sure that we keep a lot of the birch, there was a couple of oak trees as well, some hollies, and it's a really nice feature to have at the edge of a bog. You don't see too many of these now. But the rhododendron was quite literally wrapped around a lot of those trees. Areas where the rhododendron can't be removed from out underneath an oak tree or that, what we'll do is we'll saw that down and treat it afterwards.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope we have provided some more useful information about peatland conservation. We will be planning a second phase of this project to open up this beautiful area to the local community. And at that point we will make another video and showcase our plans and the transformation that we hope will have happened here at Clonbeale. As you can see, it's still a very beautiful area. You know, this would be wonderful for a walkway, perhaps a boardwalk out here. So we look forward to coming back with those plans when we have them finalised. We'll do that in conjunction with the other stakeholders in the Greater Clone Reserve to make sure that we fit in with all that's happening around Clone in general. If you want any further information about the project, my email address is below and please contact me. So we're here with Sinead McAvoy, Community Climate Action Officer in Offaly County Council, and we're very grateful to get the funding to complete this project from Offaly County Council. And Sinead is just going to say a few words now.
Michael, thanks very much for inviting me out today. We're here just to, I suppose, congratulate Michael and the Tullamore Lions Club in being awarded funding under the Community Climate Action Programme for a beautiful project, a bog restoration project here in Rath in Clonbeale Bog. The funding was received under the Community Climate Action Programme Offaly County Council received 444,000 under the funding from the Department of Climate, Communications and Environment. So we're really here just to congratulate Michael and the Tullamore Lions Club on just a wonderful initiative, on a beautiful biodiversity project, and we'd highly encourage any other groups that might be thinking of doing a project like this to contact us, to make contact with myself in Offaly County Council, because phase 2 of the Community Climate Action Fund will be opening soon. So if you have a project in mind, please make contact with us, and we'd welcome any applications from any other groups and any other Lions groups in the county.